So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome to Francophonie, to the concluding day celebrations of the week-long Francophonie celebrations. We welcome our guest of honor, Madame Fatiha Kamusi, Attaché for Cooperation in Education, French Embassy. And I also extend a heartfelt welcome to our esteemed guests, Professor Kusum Agarwal. She'll probably join us very soon, from Department of Germanic and Romance Studies, University of Delhi, and Professor Nalini Thampi, Department of French, Pondicherry University. So, heartfelt welcome to both the three ladies for today.
Welcome. Namaskar.
Let me now present before our guests and the audience also the agenda for today's program. So the program will commence with welcoming the guests. We'll follow with the screening of a short documentary on World Francophonie Day, which will be followed by a panel discussion on World Francophonie, a Strength of Mere Convention. And last but not the least, we have also provided a platform to the students. We have skit, quiz, songs, and many more things by students before us today. So may I now take this opportunity to extend floral welcome to our guest of honor for today, Madame Fatiha Kamusi. She's already visited the campus, and heartfelt welcome, Fatiha ma'am.
Merci, merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Oh, shukriya. Je vais parler hindi maintenant.
Thank you so much. Yeah. We also extend floral welcome to Professor Kusum Agarwal. She's a professor in Department of Germanic and Romance Studies in University of Delhi. On behalf of Amity University, Rajasthan, we would now like to welcome Professor Nalini Thampi, professor in the Department of French, Pondicherry University. Welcome, ma'am. I now take this opportunity to introduce to our guests and audience, Pro Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Rajasthan, Professor Amit Jain. Professor Amit Jain is currently Pro Vice Chancellor, Dean, Faculty of Management, and Director, Amity Business School at Amity University, Rajasthan. He holds a PhD from Sardar Patel University and has completed FTP from IIM Ahmedabad. Prior to this, Professor Jain was Director, International Collaborations and Professor, School of Business at Manipal University, Jaipur. Director, School of Hotel Management at Manipal University, Jaipur, Associate Professor and Chairperson MBA at JK Lakshmipat University. He's also been a visiting professor with University of Technology, Sydney, Australia, and Itswan University, Hungary, and Janu University, Slovakia. May I now welcome sir to kindly extend his address, his words for our guest today.
Good afternoon, Dr. Aditi. Am I audible?
Good afternoon, sir.
Very warm welcome to Madam Fatiha Kamusi. Warm welcome. Namaste. It was pleasure meeting you, ma'am, at the campus, and I'm so glad that you accepted our invitation and you are again with us. Thank you so much for being with us. I welcome Dr. Nalini Thampi. I was going through her profile, and what a great profile and the experience she has in the domain, in the field, with several universities, and I could see she has been associated as a Board of Studies members with the CUSET, Manipal, and several other universities. I'm sure our students will definitely benefit from your address, ma'am. Dr. Nalini, a very warm welcome to you. Namaskar. I also welcome Dr. Kusum. I believe she has not yet joined, but will be joining soon. So in absentia, but at the same time, I extend my warm welcome because I may not be able to continue for the later part of the program. So Dr. Deepa, kindly convey my gratitude to Dr. Kusum as and when she joins for the program. I'm so glad that all of you have. Okay, Dr. Kusum has joined. Warm welcome to you, ma'am. I'm so glad that so many activities are planned on this very important day. And I was just told by the organizers that you have some skit programs and some poetry recitation and so many other things that you are going to do. And all my faculty colleagues, they know that how much I'm interested in these kind of activities, especially the drama, skit, or stage, being a stage artist myself at some point of time. So definitely that's a great opportunity, and my best wishes to all these students for organizing this wonderful event. and best wishes to the organizers also. Thank you so much, Dr. Deepa. Please carry on with the program.
Thank you very much, sir, for your encouraging words. And in spite of a busy schedule, you made it today. So thank you so much. So to set the mood for today, let us now set the stage for Francophonie Day on Francophonie Day, because we have come to the concluding day now. So for the week-long celebration that we have had all around the week, so we will now have a welcome song. Let's begin with a musical note, and let's hear it from Garima Joshi, who's a student of BA Honors French, second semester. So she'll be welcoming the guests and the audience with the song now. So we proceed to the next, and I guess one of the key sessions for today's event, which is the panel discussion on World Francophonie, a strength or mere convention. Let me now take this opportunity to introduce to the audience our panelists for today. So our guest of honor, Madame Fatiha Kamosi, she is Attaché for Cooperation in Education, French Institute in India, Delhi. She has experience of teaching French as a foreign language and French as a second language in France and England. Madame Kamosi then held several positions within the French National Education. She's also holder of Bachelor's in English, a DEA in teaching French as a foreign language. She obtained in 2017 a due éclatis studies on the topic studies on gender analysis of interdisciplinary readings for weaving equality in society. And she's also served for various missions abroad in Alliance Française and Institut Français. Moving on, our next panelist is Professor Kusum Agarwal. She's a professor in the Department of Germanic and Romance Studies, University of Delhi. She's a recipient of Palms Academy. She's currently on the jury of ADLF Prize for Caribbean Literature and a corresponding member of the Academy of Overseas Sciences, Paris. She's received her master's and PhD degrees in linguistics at Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. She's also received her doctoral degree from University of Paris, Sorbonne in 1996. Her research deals with post-colonial writing in sub-Saharan and Central in Africa, and more specifically with the implications between literature and anthropology within the context of French colonial domination. Her publications include an essay entitled Apante Bala Africanism. Also, she has written an edited volume, Francophonie Postcolonial. She has contributed to the commemorative volume on Africanes, the edited volume Postures Postcoloniales. And she's also more recently contributed to a volume of International Journal of Francophone Studies on Francophone African philosophy and the aftermath of the empire, and a volume of intercultural Francophonies on the Martinican writer René Marin, who was awarded the Goncourt in 1921. Our third esteemed panelist is Professor Nalini Thampi. She's a professor of French in Pondicherry University. She's obtained her PhD and MLit in French with distinction from IFLU Hyderabad, and MA and BA in French, and she's a gold medalist from University of Madras. She's a professor of she's teaching French language, civilization, and Francophonie literature since last 38 years. She's taught for 10 years in Hyderabad at Arts and Science College for Women of Osmania University and IFLU. She's also collaborated in the Dictionnaire Français Hindi of S. Sadasivan, the first extensive French to Hindi dictionary published by Orient Black Swan. She's been the first woman dean in the School of Humanities and one of the senior most deans in the PU Academia. She's also been the dean and for Dean Student Welfare and Chief Warden. Welcome, Madam, to the panel. And let me now introduce the moderator for today's event, Professor Deepa Chakrabarti. She is heading the Amity School of Languages currently since last 11 years and has played an instrumental role in laying the foundation of doctoral, PG and UG programs in French and English, along with value-added courses in the department in German and Chinese. She has worked at various institutions like Postgraduate Department of French at Calcutta University, Alliance Française, Calcutta, and Ramakrishna Mission. She's obtained master's degree in French from Rouen University, France, and holds a PhD in French from Jaipur University, Calcutta. Professor Chakrabarty's area of specialization is Francophone African literature. She also has an MPhil degree in modern history from Calcutta University. Her publications include a book in French, Rupture et Repos, Entre la France et autres, which is also an edited book of Bangla translation of the novel by Marie Nasia Fantôme, and articles in English and French on Saint John Purse and French spelling reforms, etc. So may we now proceed with the panel discussion. Over to Professor Deepa Chakrabarty, as she'll be moderating the event today.
Okay. Thank you for your kind words, Dr. Aditi. In fact, that was nice to introduce our esteemed guests and panelists today to the audience. So very good afternoon to one and all the panelists, all the students, all the teachers, all the colleagues, and also those who have joined today's session particularly. Now, at the beginning of the panel discussion, I would like to extend my very Francophone warm greetings to everyone present today for the celebration of International Francophonie Day, which is actually March 20th. But today we are doing it because that being our Saturday, we thought it's better to do it on a Friday so that tomorrow we can really take some benefit out of the program that we're organizing today. Okay, so I extend my greetings to the guest of honor of the event, Madame Fatiha Kamusi, and of course to the esteemed panelists as well, Madame Kusum Agarwal and Madame Nalini Thampiji. The theme of the panel discussion is World Francophonie, Our Strength or Mere Convention. I request our first speaker, Madame Fatiha Kamusi, to open the panel discussion.
I was planning to start the discussion showing off about how French language is all over the world, but the documentary is just so was telling all the numbers, so I can't really boast about my native language. But I just wanted to record a few things, to remember a few things about French language. So first, as the documentary said, it's the fifth language spoken in the world. It's also a foreign language for more than 50 million people in the world. It's official language in 32 states. And it's an official language also for international media. So you have French in many television or radio shows. French is very often considered as a language of culture, but actually choosing to learn French is more than just a hobby and just discovering literature, which is great, by the way, but it's not only that, it's more than that. And I strongly believe, and it has been proven, that French provides also incredible access to other knowledge and skills, and the language offers excellent career opportunities. So knowing French can really open the way to a large network of higher education. For example, in France, we have 3 of the top 5 business schools in the world, and we have also great schools in mathematics and agronomy, aerospace, pharmaceutical. So we have many other things that usually you don't expect France to have. And it's also very high classified in innovation and also in creativity, because did you know that France has the only national university in the world for video games? So I think I'm going to attract a few young people on that topic. If you're not convinced by French to go to France, French will be always useful. For example, if you want to go to another speaking country. Excuse me, one of my colleagues, it just doesn't know that I'm talking to you and he's being silly in front of me, so I'm going to ignore him. And sorry about that. So I wanted to say that French is not only useful if you want to go to France, but also if you want to go to any other French-speaking country, and especially to Canada, to Quebec. We work a lot with Quebec, and one of compulsory things that you need to have is mastering French language. So it's not only opening opportunities in France, but also all over the world, because as it was mentioned earlier, French is spoken on the 5 continents. I'm going to stop selling my language, and just to talk about the International Day of Francophonie. Every 20th of March, it's being celebrated by more than 300 million Francophones. And the date was chosen in reference of the birth of the Agence Organisation Mondiale de la Francophonie in 1970 in Niamey, in Niger. And since that date, it has been celebrated all over the world beyond French-speaking countries, and also throughout the month of March. And this year, the International Day of Francophonie celebrations are taking place under the theme of Francophone Women, Resilient Women. So I'm really glad, being a feminist myself, that women and Francophone women are being highlighted this year. So hopefully, yeah, you can enjoy all the activities that are being organized all over the world. As far as I'm concerned, what I like about the 20th of March and the whole month of March about Francophonie is that it reminds us, it shows us clearly that French language belongs to absolutely everyone. It is alive, it is constantly evolving, and its greatest strength is lies probably in its diversity. So, and on this subject, and I think this information will interest all of you, this week on the 16th of March was launched the Dictionary en Francophone, Dictionnaire des Francophones. I'm going to put the link on the chat, because it's really very, very interesting, because it can show you expressions in French, but in different countries, because again, French doesn't belong only to France, and we really insist on that. So go on the website, it's free. You can have apps of this dictionary, and it's really great. I have been having like a really great time just checking out some expressions, and they are wonderful. Anyway, the Francophonie month for us here in India is the opportunity to celebrate also the cultural diversity here in this country. And every year, the French Institute and the French Embassy, the consulates, the network of Alliance Française, we have 14 Alliance Française in the country, and it's the first network in the world with a number of students. So thank you to all the students of the Alliance Française. So all the French network, along with our partners, schools and universities and colleges, we organize many events, cultural events, educational events throughout the month of March. And this year, the French Institute has dedicated a whole page of its website to Francophonie. And there is an interactive map that is showing you all the activities that are happening. So you just click on the, I will put also the link if you want on the in the chat, because you just click on the link, and then there's the description of the event. So many of them are online, so you can join them. Most of them are free. So our idea doing that was to show the whole world how India is celebrating Francophonie, and also to show that there is a real network here in India, and people are very active. They have not waited for us like French Embassy to do things. And for example, the event you're attending now, this conference and this panel discussion is on this map because it has been registered. So basically we have, I think, more than 75 events that have been registered, and it's just showing the richness of India regarding Francophonie. So thank you again for all the support with all the teachers, all the students, all our universities. It really makes me proud to share that with you, and being a Francophone myself, because I was born in a French-speaking country, but not France. I was born in Morocco. So, like, Francophonie is really something important to me. And so I'm just going to stop talking now and to leave the floor or the video to the great panelists, Kusum Agarwal and Nani Tampi, who will discuss the theme of World Francophonie Francophonie Convention. I don't mean to spoil, but I think you already know my answer to that question. So the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Fatiha. In fact, it's great to hear you. And we cannot wait, for listening to Madam Kusum Agarwal. So it has been pointed out by Fatiha that it all started in 1970 in Niger, and we are all carrying this forward. And just to inform Fatiha, we are one of the registered universities. So in your Francophonie map celebrations. So over to you, Kusum ma'am. So we cannot wait to hear from our next two panelists. Madam Kusum Agarwal first. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Deepa. Thank you for having me over. And, I'd like to begin by felicitating you, your Vice Chancellor, Professor Amrit Jain, who very kindly consented to honor us with his presence, and felicitate you for also carrying out such a large operation, and in these times when it's particularly challenging to get people together online, and connectivity is always always a problem. And so thank you for having me over also. Yeah, as the previous speaker was saying, we will probably all be on the same side of the debate. Probably simply add to the debate and look at, different aspects of Francophonie. So World Francophonie, a strength or mere convention. So I'd like to say that it's a strength, primarily because we are living in a shrinking world, and there's a likelihood of encountering people of other cultures, other languages, and with other different backgrounds. This likelihood is growing, it's constantly growing. So in this globalized world, more and more Indian students are likely to go abroad to study, to again for higher studies, and more of them, and some of them will also undoubtedly head to France and French-speaking worlds. And those who stay back in India again find themselves in a changed world, where universities and colleges are again multicultural and multilinguistic. So, learning a language is like opening a door to other people. It's like a window to the world, window outside of the narrow frame of, narrow is perhaps an exaggeration, not necessarily narrow, but the frame of your own culture, your own language. So, what I'm trying to suggest is knowledge of a foreign language, whether it's French or any other language, is like an invitation. It's like an invitation to grow and to enjoy such encounters with the variety, the diversity of the world, and it's opening up your mind, to this rich diversity. It is in this, I think it's this spirit of cross-culturality or interculturality that we celebrate Francophone Day annually, So, of course, the idea to begin with Francophonie itself, or Francophone, the concept has, of course, imperial origins. It was born in the context of colonization, when France wanted to make of its colonies a French-speaking world, create a common language. So it was a thought-out proposal, though not really implemented. I won't go into that detail, but it's important to be reminded that the past doesn't make the present. It makes it partially, but the present also remakes the past. So, I mean, I'm not going to repeat figures and facts, though I had also put together the same facts and the same figures as your film showed and as the previous speaker also indicated. There are growing millions, 10%, I mean, that's a really good investment. 10% annually is the growth figure of French-speaking people across the world, learners of French, and which, across continents, and that is also hugely interesting. And alongside English, of course, French and Spanish and whatever, French does indeed occupy a very privileged place in this entire linguistic geography of our contemporary times. But French is also a window to our shared history. And this, I think, we tend to forget. And it's important to be reminded. We've known France before France got to know Algeria, for instance, or the Algerians got to know France. So France and India have a common history which goes back 400 years. They opened their first warehouse in Surat, came to India for the purpose of trade and commerce in 1668. And they came here to India soon after a very famous French traveler, François Bernier, visited France and visited India during the course of his travels and was also physician to Aurangzeb. So, so these linkages are age-old. And so before this newfound interest in French, this academic interest in French, there was this kind of dialogue between the two countries. And this dialogue was fostered by people from various walks of life, travelers, merchants, officers, in the army, trading companies, and etc., etc. And the French, the intellectual elite and the political elite of the 19th century, the Indian intellectual and political elite of the 19th century, were all Francophiles. In fact, they embraced parts of French and France. They may not have been French speakers, but they were readers of French writers who opposed what the British were doing to India, on grounds that their thinking was based essentially on equality of mankind, people getting to know each other. So, these are really very important aspects of this connection between France and India. And I would also like to name one writer who in the 19th century wrote in French, wrote a novel in French, and her name was Toru Dutt. So we do not remember our past, and we think that we are just discovering this language. People like Tagore, Gandhi, Nehru, mingled with French writers. They knew them, They interacted with them, they exchanged ideas with them. And, the French also colonized India and have left little bits of France in India. And Pondicherry is one such piece, one such bit, so to say. So this was a colony of France, and today it houses a French school, a French institute, Many French Pondicherry, people from Pondicherry, residents of Pondicherry, have French nationality. They vote in the French national elections. They exercise their rights. Then you have a city like Chandigarh, which is also a French creation. So so this interaction is larger than the language, larger than what we discover in during the course of our learning of the language. And finally, I think I'm going to just end in 2 minutes. So, so there is all this history, but the French are hugely present even now. And they're present, of course, as the previous speaker said very rightly, through their various institutions. In cultural terms, a lot of cultural events are organized, films. Most of us discovered France, as young students through the cultural centers and the rich experience they offered to us of France, and we will be ever grateful for that. But today there are more than 1,000 French companies, because I think that is the information that will be of interest to you. So I thought I would add that. 1,000 French companies in India. When I discovered that, I was absolutely amazed, and with a total turnover of $20 billion, and they employ about 300,000 Indians in a range of areas, aerospace, agro industry, food industry, automobile, and there are around 15 Indo-French research laboratories. So there is a lot of research going on, joint research, jointly with France, and about 500 collaborative projects. So, so in the sense that Francophonie Day is also an opportunity to remind students that in choosing French, they have made the right choice, because French can combine itself with your interest in the skills that you search. Because, we at the university perhaps have different interests, but you are looking for job opportunities, you are looking for scientific opportunities in the area of science and developing technology and all of that. So as was also indicated by the previous speaker, it is in my opinion too, French education has much to offer in this area. And currently there are about 5,000 Indian students studying in France. So this is an exchange which is continuous and very fruitful for both countries. And so to end, I'd like to say that, Francophonie Day is also a celebration of this relevance of French today. It offers that the fact that French offers us a range of possibilities and opportunities in all areas, culturally, scientifically, in terms of businesses. And in terms of businesses, I think it's useful to remember, we referred to Africa, but with Indian companies moving to Africa, I think French will be a very useful input, on your curriculum vitae, if you have French and you're moving for business purposes to Africa. So so French has a lot of potential, and there's little likelihood that you're going to regret this investment that you're making currently. So with that, I'll end. I hope I haven't exceeded my time, because I wasn't timing myself. Thank you, Deepa.
Thank you, ma'am. Nice hearing you. The words are really encouraging, ma'am. In fact, you have thrown lights on the shared history of India and France that dates back to 400 years, ever since the French colonialists stepped into India. And you also highlighted some of the key figures who left their mark in this shared history and memory, like François Bernier. You talked about Le Corbusier without even mentioning him, talking about Chandigarh. So there are many such names that are ingrained, and we as students, we as teachers, we have to really understand this patrimony, I'm going to say, because this became our memory also. And it's ever widening. That is how you ended. And of course, the possibilities in doing a career are more and more, with new industry, new corporate sectors taking interest in India, and vis-a-vis, I mean, also the French in France also. If Indian industry, Indian people can do something in collaboration with them. Thank you, ma'am. It's very enlightening. Moving on, we have Nalini ma'am, who is going to, through her perspective, is going to talk about how she is going to contribute to this debate. Nalini ma'am.
So, namaskar, bonjour, good afternoon, esteemed guests and dear students. So, it is indeed a privilege to be a guest at this significant event celebrating the Francophonie Day at the Amity University, Jaipur. And I do thank Professor Amit Jain for his gracious welcome, and Dr. Deepa Chakrabarti, head of the Amity School of Languages, and her able team for having so graciously invited me on this momentous occasion. So as Dr. Kusum said, I think all three of us, panelists will be agreeing on the same point, that Francophonie is definitely a strength and not a mere convention. So as the video as well as the previous esteemed speakers underline the fact, the term of Francophonie, as we all know, designates the socio-linguistic, in the socio-linguistic sense, it designates the entire population speaking French. Or if you want to take it in a geopolitical perspective, it will mean the total countries where French is spoken. So thus the Francophone world regroups more than 88 countries, as the video showed. So let us say from Egypt to Moldova, or from Canada to Vietnam, or from Mauritius to New Caledonia, thus spread over the 5 continents in a variety of flavors. So it's become very common to say nowadays that French is no longer the language of France alone, for it has gone far beyond the frontiers of the hexagon that France is. As rightly stated by the late Senegal president, whom you all know, Leopold Sédar Senghor, who said, I'll just give the translation, the French language is the sun that shines beyond the hexagon. Or as the French singer Yves Duteil highlights in his song La Langue de Chez Nous, that is our language, which was a great hit in 1985. Maybe some of you were not even born at that point of time, the dear students. So he says in his song that it has thrown bridges across the Atlantic. It has quit the nest for another land. So you can then imagine how considerably the French literary landscape changes with the inputs from the various Francophone zones. Where there used to be only one French literature, now there are several Francophone literatures blossoming across the world. A fact which only underlines the linguistic plurality in a variety of dimensions. In fact, Madam Fatiha was saying about, the dictionary which gives you, different words for the same meaning. In fact, the other day I was just talking to one of my French friends, and I was telling about this incident which happened in Kerala, where the Congress woman president was denied a ticket for the elections, and how she protested about it. So his comment was, c'est une femme debout. So I was wondering, what is this debout now? And then I checked out, it means a strong woman, a woman who can sustain everything. And that was a word which was totally new, and it seems it comes from La Martinique. So you can imagine the different variations. For example, I am now in Pondicherry, and the French that the Pondicherrians speak has its own flavor and its own set of words, constructions, etc. So there's always an interaction between France and the other Francophone countries, and a new literary space is created with books written, published, and appreciated beyond the hexagonal circuits. So the feeling of a decline, sometimes they say, oh, French language is in a decline. Actually, the feeling of a decline in the use of the French language is thus exorcised, because you have so many publications, and nowadays so many students join for learning French, be it at the PG level or at the certificate level, because there are so many prospects which open up with French and other foreign languages, not only French alone. So new rapports have been established between the people of different countries in a dialogue of cultures at the crossroads of lands and histories. So Professor Kusum was mentioning that also, creating thus a new transnational space where the colonial or hegemonic hangover is slowly erased. So today, if the term of Francophonie has come to stay and draws more and more attention, it is mainly because the French language is neither an extinct one, nor does it solely belong to the hexagonal space. This linguistic decentralization encourages the local words and accents, original syntactic expressions, regionalisms, dialectal features. So the resulting lexical creativity thus prevents linguistic sclerosis and stagnation, and infuses the French language with a renewed vigor in a broad spectrum. So as Senghor aptly remarks, he says that, I quote, Francophonie means this integral humanism which is woven around the world, the symbiosis of latent energies of all the continents, all the races, which are stirred up by the complementary warmth. So the complementary warmth of precisely the Francophonie spirit. And according to another writer, who's Roger Bacon, he says that knowledge of languages is actually the doorway to wisdom. So at the dawn of speech, there were inhibitions to learn other languages because everybody was, centered around their own language. And there were, of course, the purists also who did not want any language to be mixed with another one. But slowly over the centuries, perceptions started varying and there were attitudinal changes. We finally arrived in this era of globalization where the need to learn a foreign language becomes more acute. Now, what exactly are the advantages of learning a foreign language? Because that is what counts for all, people like us who are teachers, for whom, French teaching is the raison d'etre, and also the means to, provide good prospects to the students. So everybody now knows that it gives potential in the job avenues. And more potential, and the chances are definitely enhanced for recruitment. So for example, we have in Pondicherry University, in the Department of French, we have a course which is offered to students from other departments. And every year we get around 350 to 450 people joining this basic French course. So a particular year in the beginning, like there was this young boy from MCA, and he joined for French. And he finished his MCA, he finished his French, and he went for a recruitment. So he gave his CV, and the recruiters, they looked at his CV and they said, oh, okay, MCA, okay. But then MCA, so many MCAs appeared for the recruitment. What clinched in his favor was that in his CV, it was mentioned French. Immediately, he got recruited because all the corporates, as Dr. Kusum also underlined the fact that there are so many companies which have French collaboration, all the corporates just wait for French postgraduates or even people with certificate. I have noticed some corporates which even take people with certificate in French. They just wait for these people to finish their education and immediately they recruit them. So you can see what lucrative chances you have if you join for French or any other foreign language. And a foreign language who well learned always gives an opportunity to converse in it while on a visit abroad. And as Nelson Mandela rightly observed, he said, when you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. But when you speak to him in his own language, it goes straight to his heart. And you would have noticed that reaction when you go to France and you speak in French, the joy that appears on the face. So thus one becomes aware of different cultures and savoir-vivre when foreign languages are learned. According to Rita Ma Brown, she says that language is a roadmap of a culture, which is quite true. There's always a cross-cultural sensitivity in foreign language teaching and learning. The intercultural aspects also add a stimulus in the simulated scenarios enacted in an FLT class. So interaction and interactivity promote the dynamics and participation, and new linkages are thus built. In these days of globalization and bilateral or multilateral talks, linguistic skills in foreign languages definitely help to better the art of negotiation and thus avoid storm and strife, not to say war. And translators and interpreters are much sought after nowadays, so that every nuance of a foreign language, be it French, can be perfectly understood. In fact, just by knowing the grammar or the vocabulary in a foreign language does not prove the proficiency of a language learner, who should also master the skill of using the apt phrase or idiom in a relevant context. But of course, with years of practice, you get the hang of these idiomatic constructions. Hence, the strategy of localization, not globalization, but localization, which combines both the words, practices business by considering the local and global circumstances and uses the pertinent word which will be correctly perceived in the local and global regions. So nowadays, language learning can be done either online or through apps. And language teaching also is technologically mediated, just as the evaluation and assessment of learners. It is becoming more and more machine-oriented, but then can machines be trusted? Don't we often witness the technical glitches or the malfunctioning that can happen? Gone seem to be the days when the human touch was prevalent and there was a direct interface between the teacher and the learner. Of course, classroom teaching still exists, but it is slowly giving way to a kind of robotic or mechanical domination, especially in these COVID times. We hope we'll come back to the personal interface after some days. However, what gladdens the heart is that the number of learners in foreign languages is keeping on rising, as we can see in Pondicherry University itself year after year. Because for our PG, our MA French also, every year we get 60 or more candidates, and there are about 200 who write the entrance test. So if you can imagine how it is filtered down to 60. So the recent visits, in fact, of the French president to India or of our prime minister to France has certainly given a new impetus to the existing Indo-French relations. And this rapprochement has renewed their commercial, diplomatic or cultural ties. In fact, if there is to be a better mutual understanding between the two countries, the first move is to scale the linguistic hurdle, as knowledge of the French language by the Indians and vice versa will only avoid any incomprehension or misunderstanding on either side during the bilateral dialogues. After all, learning a foreign language not only adds value to a person's formation, but also helps an individual to understand another culture and build a communicating channel. And in fact, under the MOUs that Pondicherry University has signed with many of the foreign universities, there's one which was signed in 2019 April, which was between Pondicherry University and the University of Panthéon-Sorbonne, Paris 1. And this was for a MA integrated, for a dual degree program, which was MA integrated SEAL bar AES, which is offered by Sorbonne, and the SEAL program, which is offered by Pondicherry University. And this was basically a multidisciplinary blend of many courses in social sciences, management, and law, so that these students who go out of the portals of Pondicherry University can get, recruited in precisely the Indo-French companies. And it could be also, they could also do an internship in these Indo-French companies. So that way you have lots of opportunities which are open to you. So seize them, join French, and join the French family, I would say, because Francophonie is basically a blend of so many families across the world. So join us, because it's not only today that you are joining this event, but join the language and you will see all that you can benefit from such a beautiful language. Thank you so much for having been patiently listening to whatever I was saying.
So, ma'am, it was extremely interesting to hear you.
Thank you.
In fact, all the panelists stressed on the strength of Francophonie and its ever-growing horizons. Ma'am Nalini highlighted the variations of French language and how this lexical creativity leads to infusion of new energy in the French language. So that was, almost all the panelists talked about how Francophonie is transgressing the frontiers ever since I think this Francophonie thing has started. I mean, when it was coined, and after that, if you look at the journey of Francophonie, it is really very, very impressive. And even as Kusum ma'am said, 10% of growth of French speakers every year is really something fantastic. So with that note, I have just one or two questions to ask. One is from a student, and any of the panelists can take this. At which level of his learning can he think that he is going to get a job? At which level of his learning? So is it after doing the graduation? Is it, that is how students think today, that after 3 years they will get a job. So what is your reflection on that? And if they go for internship, where should they go? Because they have, all the modern syllabi, they have incorporated internship in the final year. So where should they go? So these are some of the queries of the students. Voilà. And next is machine orientation of pedagogy. That is, by the grace of COVID, I might say that suddenly we were thrown into a world that was not known to us. But as it was compulsory, we all, indulged into it and actually learned a lot of things. But still, we are not very happy about how students are learning. So how far a machine orientation or interface can help French pedagogy? That is the second question. So Nalini ma'am, Kusum ma'am and Fatia, all three can talk on this. Starting, if Nalini ma'am, you can start since you are in the screen, yeah. And the rest can give their views.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I mean, you can join a job after your UG degree, but you know, if you complete your PG, you have far more learning experience behind you, and I mean, you because if see after you finish your UG, you'll be how old? You'll be maybe 20, 21, so that's pretty young, pretty young. So I would say you can join your PG and then think of, you know, because, and then another thing is that you have to see what is the path you're going to take, whether you're going to join a corporate or whether you're going to join in the teaching line, because on that will depend your internship. Because if it's a corporate, obviously you will have to go to a corporate and do your internship so that you get that, you know, first-hand experience, hands-on experience, as they say. But if it's the teaching line, then obviously you will have to, you know, join a department, you know, just as an intern and see how things work, how are the classes, you know, modulated, how is it organized, and all those things. But personally, I would say that it's better to join a job after your PG, just in view of the experience that you will be having, 2 more years of experience, which will perhaps make you more mature to deal with situations, because mind you, every job will have its plus minus factors. So you should not get disheartened, because the younger you are, you know, you get easily disheartened. But a little older, you have that, you know, already that steel forming in you, so that you can withstand any kind of upsetting experience. So that's my take on it. And
I'd like to add something to it if I can. Yeah, so, you know, I'm from the University of Delhi, and we have undergraduate programs and postgraduate programs. After the undergraduate programs, a large section of our students move into the corporate world. So that's when they migrate. So I simply would like to say that, and of course, then they go into, I mean, they do additional training, they receive additional training, on the job training, develop the skills that are required. But as far as employment opportunities are concerned, they seem to be doing really well, in the sense that we have the placement cell of the university is flooded with, you know, kind of requests for recruitment. So they come to the university and they recruit people. And I would like to also add in what Professor Nalini was saying, is that we also have, you know, the demand for foreign languages is growing, you know, by the day. It's so we also have observed that at the University of Delhi. We conduct foreign language courses in about 30 colleges, if not more. And we began with perhaps 1 or 2 colleges, but now, you know, I mean, every year there's a request for more. And, you know, we actually don't have enough people, resources to be able to respond to all the demands. But it is an area that is growing. So, you know, as Professor Nalini was saying, you know, teaching, you know, maybe getting a university job is difficult, but there is possibility. There's so many institutes. There is so much private initiative that in this area of foreign language teaching and learning, that the possibilities are immense. So if you have any inclination, because I think we also have language students who are doing their master's and their PhD, Deepa, you know, so I mean, I'm speaking primarily to them that, you know, yeah, well, it's a growing area, and I think, you know, over time, there's going to be further growth in this area. So that's what I'm going to add.
Actually, we have to wrap up this panel.
Can I just add something about the levels?
Yes,
I'm
yes,
sorry,
yes.
just to be very, very practical. Using the common framework for languages, the European framework for languages, and to answer quickly to add to what was said before, we would need at least B1. Level B1 is about, it's like 375 hours of French to be like independent user of language. So usually when we start, I mean, to be really able to have a proper mastering of a language and to be able to work, I think at least a B1 if you really have to work in English. Then in French, sorry. Then for French teachers or teachers of French, we ask usually, we help teachers to go to the level B2, which is around 600 hours of French. And B2 is also a level that would allow Indian students or for any students to go and study in France in French language, like to study any topic, but in French language. So B2 is really a very, very good level. So I would tell the students to at least aim for level B1 if they want really to work, to be at ease, and to have really a good expertise of a language. A2 is like 160 hours. It will allow you to have simple conversation, but I don't think like working in French language, it would be quite difficult. So aim for B1 and then go beyond when you can.
Yeah, thank you. So as for machine learning, we all know that, okay, fine, machine learning is complementary, but personal interaction learning, face-to-face learning is better. So with that, we will wrap up this panel discussion, and we will move on because students have actually worked very hard and they are waiting eagerly to showcase their talents to you. In fact, Amity has, Amity University, Rajasthan, has more than 1,000 students who are learning, French language. And also we have 700 and more learning Spanish. In German, we have almost the same number of students like in French. And also we have Mandarin Chinese as value-added course. We have also graduation, masters, and postdoctoral degrees in French. So this question came from a French student of BA honors. So already they do B2 level, Fatiha, for licence. So as Kusum ma'am was pointing out that, yes, there are jobs. And Nalini ma'am also said, yes, you can go for corporate world, but first you should also think of, doing your masters. That will make you more efficient. Thank you, Fatiha. Thank you, Kusum ma'am. And we all ask you to be there to see what our students have done for you and to celebrate this momentous event. Be there. Thank you so much. And also you have to give some appreciation to our students. Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. So I thank all the panelists and I thank Deepa ma'am to have moderated the panel discussion very nicely. So we move on to the next section, student performances, and I now would like to invite Dr. Jayavardhan Rathore, who has tirelessly coordinated all the student performances, be it skit and quiz and songs and everything. So I would request Dr. Jayavardhan Rathore to take over so that we can witness these student performances, the next very important part of our Francophonie Week celebrations. Thank you.
That was indeed mesmerizing. Thank you, everyone. With this, we come to the end of the cultural section. I would like to request now Dr. Aditi Devdeol to take over the program now.
Okay. So both the coordinators, in fact, have done a fantastic job. But is the celebration over? That is the big question. It cannot be so without the feedback from our expert guests. So over to Kusum ma'am and Nalini ma'am. What is your feedback about the event, our students, our colleagues, and the entire team? So particularly our students' contributions. What do you think?
I think it was an absolutely excellent endeavor. I must congratulate all of you, all the students, each one. I mean, you know, some of your singers have done such a good job. And you know, all that you know about France is also very impressive. And of course, very creative exercise too, because doing all this online is hugely challenging. So I must felicitate all of you, and Deepa, of course, your teacher, Dr. Deepa Chakravarti. She's of course the inspiration behind all of this. And I think it was such a good idea to put this together and to have this program, you know, despite the fact that it's a day before Francophonie Day and in the afternoon, and all the inconvenience that you have suffered because of this. I'm really very pleased to have been part of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your all the words, all your kind words. Thank you. Nalini, ma'am, over to you.
Yeah, I think hats off to you, Dr. Deepa, and I mean, such a dynamic team you have with you that the whole event was such a pleasure, in fact, to be part of. And in fact, listening to some of your students singing, I just felt like kidnapping them and bringing them to Pondicherry University because, you know, at one point of time before the pandemic, we used to have so many cultural programs and, you know, French songs and French dances used to be the highlight of the program. So it reminded me of those days. And I must say you have a very talented lot of students and, you know, colleagues to groom them also into this path. So congratulations to you and each one of you, and also the tech team, because the tech team was the one which, you know, sort of sustained the whole event, because it's very challenging to hold such, you know, happenings online, because you, as I said, when I spoke initially, machines are, you know, very untrustworthy. So you have to keep everything on the go and it should come out perfectly at the right time. So that's an immense challenge. And I must say that all of you carried it so well. So félicitations and bonne continuation aussi.
Merci beaucoup. I would like both the coordinators to put on their camera, because it's their hard work and of course our talented students which made the event a success. Thank you, Jayapathan, and particularly Webex portal with all its surprise that's stored for us initially, but we could get over that hurdle because of the joint effort and because of the blessings of our university authorities. Vice Chancellor sir was having a extremely important meeting, but he, you know, for 5 to 10 minutes, he came and joined us. So it is because of all this support, ma'am, Kusum ma'am and Nalini ma'am, that the university authorities are giving us. And it is also because of the teamwork that we can manage, despite the difficulties, to put up, you know, to put in place something which is beneficial for our students.
Absolutely.
Thank you, we will be in touch with both of you.
Sure.
And we'll manage to have you again.
Thank you.
And despite your busy schedule, do come and join us in our endeavors.
Definitely. It's always a pleasure.
And Aditi, thanks a lot. I knew that you could do it. That is why you have been bestowed with the work. Thank you so much.